Hey guys, welcome back to Parkitect. Today we're going to be venturing into our next scenario. It's going to be Adventure Island. This is going to be the ninth scenario in the campaign, because last episode I did just talk about either we're going to be jumping from Batavia Cay or Adventure Island, but it seems like Adventure Island is the progression that seems to be the better thing to do. So the description reads, this small island park with a unique observation tower wants to attract more guests, but its cold and wet climate is keeping visitors away. So that just lets me know that it's going to rain a lot. So covers and buildings are really going to be helpful here. Probably covering up queues, maybe some flat rides need to be covers, things like that. The goals are, oh my gosh, I can speak English. Have at least 500 guests in your park. Doesn't seem that too bad. And then have a happiness rating of 80%. And then complete by December year 2, which we're 100% going to ignore because I'm not really focused on beating those. But again, I've beaten the whole campaign already previous. But this round I wanted to do, well, you guys already know this, that I want to do a decoration overhaul. So the first things first is we get to see Killer Bee, the vertical drop coaster. And I know this was designed by Silverette, so this whole map is designed by him. He's a really good builder, and most of the campaign levels are designed by him or Josh, so it's been pretty good so far. I do like this coaster. This looks really nice. It's just, I think it operates horribly. Like, it only has 2 trains, I see. 1, 2. So the output's really bad. So wait, what's the hour? Or the guests per hour? Let's go actually look. Where is it? Theoretical amounts of customers per month is 62. That's really bad. That's really bad. That needs to be fixed. So that's the first thing that will happen, is to A, add more trains, and B, maybe try to implement a mid-course. But I like all the inversions and stuff, and I don't know if I can add another mid-course. This coaster's layout looks pretty snazzy. Maybe the only solution is to maybe make the station longer, add some more block breaks so that trains can stack here. And then I know that if I add a break here, I can stack 2 trains on the chain lift. That's not realistic, but I could do that too. There's some little cheesy things you can do, technically speaking, but that will come in later. I will think about redesigning this coaster. I know that some players had just outright delete it, but I kind of like it too much that I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep it in and maybe redesign the station. Who knows? There's a lot of things I could do. Also, I asked Sylv what this map was based off of, and he said he imagined in his head that this is an island that would be off the coast of New England. Now, I did a really quick Google search, New England, and it basically pinpoints the location of New Hampshire, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. So basically and Maine. So the top part of the east coast of America. So this is, technically speaking, I would say, in his mind, an American region map. So that actually gives me hope on theming. And I would do maybe a national park or like a harbor town in the area. So that would make sense to do something. It's very rustic architecture. Like, this observation tower is very rustic. It's very watchtower-like in a way. I really do like this look. So that's probably what I'm going to aim for, is a little fishing village with maybe some colonial-inspired stuff, because it's supposed to be like New England or something, maybe. And a lot of rustic materials, wood, stone. I mean, just looking at this little cover for the Twister, it's very rustic. So I'm going to copy that the best I can and then have coasters intertwined in this place. So I think that's the objective. And again, I don't know how hard this scenario is going to be. Let me go look at the goals once again. 500 guests. So it means guests might be a harder generation in this level. 80% happiness shouldn't be hard after I decorate this thing to its full limits. And I also need to close this area back here down so that no guests go back there, because this is a long walk. This is actually a perfect map for like a transportation ride too. Man, we have a lot of space. And I probably won't be touching the water. I probably maybe do some harbor stuff maybe a little bit, but mostly keep on the island. Yeah, this looks good so far. So first things first is to fix the coaster and then start designing some type of buildings based off of New England. So that would be like harbor buildings, churches. Well, I don't want to do another church, but we could. Maybe a downtown. I don't have any interesting POI maybe until later, but that's the objective. So all in all, let's just get started and see how this goes. I'm super excited. Let's get on building. Okay, first things first is to work on the Killer Bee to fix it and to add some more ride capacity basically. So I just added additional block breaks at the end and then kind of wrap that up. So the first thing is to get a baseline of my theme / architecture for the map, and to kind of maybe, well, also to make the map smaller because it's a very large island. So I cut off the back end of the island where the tower is, just to make it a little bit easier. So the main structure over here is going to be like some type of factory, and I based it off of some of the structures at Pacific Wharf at California Adventure. So the bread factory and Ghirardelli's chocolate factory, it used to be the tortilla factory actually, are very rustic buildings, and I felt like that was kind of, I think, the beat I was going to go for was to do rustic structures. Because the depot building is very rustic, the station for Killer Bee is pretty rustic, and the tower itself is pretty rustic, and it kind of reminds me of a national park. And I think Dan Ambley in my comments section said something about a national park, and that's a cool theme to do. And I didn't do it in this playthrough because I didn't understand the idea, so I kind of just went with my normal build factories, build buildings that are rustic, kind of matches the aesthetic of the map, and then just go from there. This campaign map, so the theming itself is not as, I don't know, crazy as, let's say, my last couple maps. So this one's kind of just taking an easier stance on it, because I was more concerned about actually beating the scenario, because for some reason this map is just hard. But while playing through it, it hasn't been that hard, and I'm surprised by it. So I think it's because if you do extreme decorations like I do, it's a little bit easier to deal with that happiness rating because you bump that immersion rating. I haven't done the full research on how that works, but I'm guessing that's what's happening, is because of the extreme decoration ratings and stuff like that. Again, I think that's how it works, but I'm not 100% sure. I don't know the full details about it. So right now I'm just going to build as you can see, I'm just building a simple eating area for the guests, and it's easier to get to. It's like right at the front of the park, so it might as well. And I kind of like the rustic feel of this factory. The yellow building actually changes colors just a tad bit. It's a little too yellow, and so I lower and made it a little bit more disdained, not as bright and cheerful. Because again, these are supposed to be some type of factory that are supposed to be weather beaten, so I changed that color a little bit later. And then I built a restroom to kind of make this a little bit more of a plaza and kind of incorporate this station, the queue entrance for Killer Bee. I was half tempted on trying to change the station for Killer Bee, but I just didn't feel like I needed to. I just added some discolor on the roofs just to kind of match my style, and then just go from there. So it was I don't know, it's just kind of what I was just winging it. I added some benches and some tables over here. I used wagon wheels as the edges of the tables. That actually was a cool little technique. I learned that from Pierre, another Parkitect builder in the community. He's really good at doing vanilla stuff, and he's quite impressive. So just go check out his stuff on his workshop. It's actually really cool. But yeah, before I go too crazy into this describing this map. I just want to tell a little story that, well, that's not a story, it's more like an update. So I got a new mic for my desk to hopefully these videos will get better quality, but I might be messing with my audio for the next couple episodes, so try to ignore that. I don't know, I'm testing it out, and that's kind of, I'm excited to have some new equipment and stuff like that, so just to let you know what's been going on the last couple weeks. But back to describing what's going on here, just adding some more details and things of rustic stuff. Again, the theme here is not really a pinpoint, it's kind of like a broad stroke of rustic materials. I've described this before as not Sebastian. Why do I keep thinking Sebastian? It's Sylv. Silverette made this map, and he said this was themed to New England, which is like the main area of the East Coast, right? Like that's Massachusetts, Maine, Boston, New York, are all New England, basically. So I kind of went on a searching spree of like pictures from that area, and I kind of found some structures and some warehouses and things like that. It actually worked out, so I'm going to use some of that a little bit here. But it's just, this map is just rustic. So I think instead of, thinking too hard about your theme, sometimes simple themes work out the best. And in this case, I think it worked out really well, because there's some really cozy parts of this part. I like the walkway that happened in the last couple seconds, that walkway that kind of goes up and down on itself. I like that. I know it still did that in his video, and I kind of did the same. I kind of like that walking type of environment where you kind of walk in between trees and things, and it's kind of a nice stroll. Just imagine as you're a guest, you walking through, and that's a nice little stroll for you to go do, especially in the rain or something. Again, this map rains a lot, and that's what's crazy about it. Holy moly. So onto the first coaster is a junior coaster. I'm always reluctant on making more junior coasters because at this point I've made so many in the campaign, and I'm realizing that the campaign just throws it at you all the time. So I'm just gonna make a generic junior coaster that kind of just weaves in and out of trees, and it's a way to make money, because junior coasters can make bank if you know how to properly lay it out and then price it accordingly. I know this coaster, I think I priced it at $10. Usually you can, at a medium excitement rating, you can rate it at $10. It makes pretty good money, and then kind of goes from there. Also in this, I was trying to guess where the transfer track would go and kind of suggest that it would be built later. I'm trying to do all the realism stuff as well on top of my campaign play, and it's been working out pretty well, but I'm also trying to get over the point of being too lazy to do it. And I should not just be lazy, I should just do it, because it's cool to do transfer tracks. So this structure is going to be like a fisherman's hut, fisherman's factory maybe, or just a giant warehouse. So I wanted to make some different roof heights to add some interest. Again, that's, I think, the objective of making buildings not as rectangle is to add outcrops, making the building L-shaped or T-shaped. This is in this case, this is like a cross shape. You have a rectangle in the center, and then you have a rectangle that goes vertically or horizontally. I don't know how, it depends on which way the camera is facing, but it goes off across the rectangle to kind of cut that up, that long edge. So that's kind of the objective here, and to add some interest. Again, this is the point of trying to get away from the rectangle. And then you have to always do with borders. Borders always help identify edges, and I encourage you guys to do it. It's a lot of work though to do the borders. It's a very lot of work, but it's worth it because it just makes those edges more defined, and it just makes your building pop. And pillars also help too with corners. But if the building doesn't have pillars, you don't have to do it. But again, this is like a wooden structure with a metal bottom, so it needed to have that type of thing. So yeah, or defiance, not defiance. It's like defining characteristics. That's the word I'm looking for. English. So yeah, just simple detailing and as you mess around with detailing, your building gets better. To be honest, that's usually what happens, because when you build a rectangle, you're like, oh, that looks boring. It takes time to detail a structure, so take your time, add little details here and there, add a window, a door, add some awnings, add maybe some exposed brick. That might help a little bit. So that's just the encouragement of continuing to play around with your theming ideas, and don't be afraid to experiment, because I did a lot of experiment in this level too, even though I would try to stay into my realm of knowledge. But again, I think that's the point of trying new things, and this campaign's already showed me a lot of what crazy themes I can make up from just the maps alone, or try to. So over here is a ice cream shop. I should have been talking about this a while ago, but a quick little ice cream shop to build for guests to kind of wander toward, and kind of fills in that gap between the Roto Drop and the Junior Coaster, because I'm always trying to find ways to fill in gaps. It's either with a flat ride or with a building of some sort, or like a POI. That's kind of the design philosophy behind that, is to always fill those gaps in. I know I can easily fill that gap with trees, but that's, I think, a easy cop-out sometimes. Unless it's really like you're in a forest type theme, then yeah, go for a forest. But I wanted to add some more buildings, because I'm still imagining that this little island is like some type of village off the coast of Maine, I'm assuming. And there are some factories, there's some tourist spots, and I think it works because the tower is your tourist spot, I think. Yeah, the viewing tower would be your tourist spot, and then the theme park kind of grew around it. So that was kind of the story that I had a little bit. It's not as crazy as my other ones, but that story helped with designing what I wanted to try to imitate, or not imitate, it's more like present, because when you look at a blank map, you don't have a set guidelines, then it's really hard to do anything. So I suggest that you like try to make a storyboard. Yeah, storyboard would be good, to branch it out and do that. Kind of make the story flush out. So quickly made a transfer track for the Junior Coaster because it needs to happen, because realism still exists in my game. So I'm gonna do that. But all in all, the first section of the map is pretty nice, and it's been pretty good. So I'm going to leave you here. I'm going to meet you over for a quick overview, and I'll explain my future plans for the park. So let's get into some overview of the park as it sits. So I'm quickly going to say that I let this park actually run for a little bit. So we're actually in year 4 already at this point, because I wanted to see how stable the park could be, especially how difficult this scenario has been, but I haven't found it as difficult as some other players. So again, sometimes I think sometimes players get surprised on how hard this scenario can be if you're not paying attention. But at this point, I've done pretty well with only the key attractions I've put in, and that would be 1, 2, 3, 4 attractions. Yeah, 3 flat rides and 1 coaster. And at this point, I'm making buco bucks, but I'm also spending a lot on, I think, research right now. And it looks like I'm researching a water coaster. I also, during that time as just letting the game run, I researched a whole bunch of scenery and a whole bunch of, I think, flat rides, I think? Let me see here. Yes, I got some new flat rides to kind of add with, and then coasters will update eventually, and then go from there, because I wanted to see if I can expand the park more. And I'm still trying to figure out my holding, especially on what the theme is. So in the time lapse, I probably explained all what this is. It's supposed to be like some type of factory of some sort. It's like well, again, this is an island, but maybe like an island town, a fishing village. So this could be some type of fishing hut or factory, canning facility, and then a storage shed over here is where the restrooms. And then I kind of redesigned the coaster's output for the trains here. That also helped out too. I mean, this coaster still makes ridiculous amounts of money, and the line's always full. And I'm also noticing that because these people are in this queue, there's less people on the road. But again, I have 300 guests, which is not bad. I still need 500, so I know that building at least maybe 1 or 2 more coasters will probably actually break over the a limit or the goal. It'll actually give you to the goal. Then we'll be okay. Over here, I was just trying to figure out again. I'm still trying to figure out what my design of this map is, or what's the theme, and it's kind of basically turning into like a colonial American town in a way. Very peaked roofs, a lot of industrial looking vibe. So this is like, again, another factory. And the rain in this level also, could also tell you about that, as it rains, is annoying. I'll give you that. And there are months where it rains a lot and then no one goes on your ride, and that's where I think you can get yourself in trouble if you're not paying attention and you're building things. That's where you can get in trouble. So I've noticed that, but again, I also just left the game running just to see what happened. I was just like doing some little touch-ups here and there, like putting down grass, putting down some trees, but not like doing major construction, like building a new ride. And you do lose money quickly if you're not watching out, because right now in this month of rain, because this is probably going to go for a while, my Killer Bee and the Junior Coaster are not going to make money. The only ride that will be okay is this one, and that's it. Nothing else will be good. So at this point, everybody's buying drinks and food at this point, which are significantly higher than I usually have them at. So that's also a plus. It's a give or take. So when it starts raining, I suggest you don't build. Well, that was actually a short rain event, so maybe that's not that bad. So let's go. Yeah, I'm going to continue researching coasters because we just got the water, and that might not be a good ride to put in because I don't know how warm the summers are. I don't always look. They're probably warm. But the next coaster I want to build is a stand-up because I haven't built one yet at all in the campaign plate, and I'm feeling like it should sit here or here. So now I'm finally going to expand this way toward the observation tower, because right now these two rides and this little shop are completely dormant. Nothing's open, nothing's working. I'm still paying for maintenance, I'm assuming, right? Actually, I want to see what's the monthly for it. $3. Oh, that's like nothing. Wow, I didn't realize how cheap that is. It's like $3 to keep it on property. Cool. Okay. So the objective is to build that stand-up coaster here, and then fill in some flat rides, and then I think I want to build some type of, finally, some harbor stuff here, like actually get toward the water, because I was going to do it over here, but I felt like there was a lot of ground to cover, so I kind of just kept everything on land. And then maybe sprinkle some more, yeah, I'm going to do some more trees and stuff, some fences, but some harbor buildings here, maybe a boathouse of some sort. I don't have that much food right now. I should research food. Actually, I should buy another research team. I've never thought to do that. If I buy one now, I'm going to lose 5 grand. But I want that 17 grand to build the coaster. So while it's researching, it might research shops, but it might just research coasters that are already on that. But all in all, right now the park is pretty stable. And it seems like everybody's having fun. Everything seems good, and the decoration rating in this park is pretty high. Oops. Yeah, again, it's pretty high. Again, that's what happens when I build so detail-oriented that the decoration rating just gets ridiculous. And that decoration rating actually helps with your park's operations. It helps a lot. So, all in all, the park looks good, so we're going to pinch off to build a stand-up coaster and some new shops and some flat rides, and we'll get on to that right now, so I'll meet you over there. Okay, let's go on to the next section of the park. So now we have to expand myself out toward the tower, and I wanted to add some more areas of interest, and so this area is going to be like some type of harbor area, kind of very... It will resemble a lot of my American Adventure stuff because I did a harbor for the park. It was New York Waterfront, I think it was called. Again, I should really get back on working on that park. I have some plans for that park actually. I want to work on a miniature golf for the hotel, but I have to get myself onto it soon. So keep an eye out for that, because that's going to happen eventually. So just wanted to build an area for the guests to kind of wander to, and an area to kind of have a place to relax. I'm always cautious. I'm always thinking about a place for guests to kind of wander to off the beaten path, because the main path gets busy and you can get overwhelmed as the guest. So might as well make a little area for you to go explore and kind of go hide in. And that's kind of the objective here. And also, this is an additional place where I can put a restaurant. So I'm always thinking about using my buildings, building a building that is useful. I don't always want to build a building that is very just a prop, and I feel weird about it. I don't know why, it's just kind of my nature. It's just weird for me to have a building that is useless. I mean, the red building right here is basically useless, but it's kind of resembling a boathouse, so it has a purpose. Unless I think it like this, all buildings serve a purpose to storytell. For storytelling, yes. Yes, maybe I should rethink my thought process on that, but maybe that will fix my problem. I don't know, that sounds better though. Because all buildings and attractions and rides in a theme park should tell a story or help move your narrative along. So, yeah. It's nice to think of things like that sometimes. So, on to just doing some harbor stuff. I'm adding some pillars and things to the wooden boardwalk. And then I added a spiral slide off to the side, and then a wipeout, which later actually moves closer to the spiral slide. So, just doing some normal detailing stuff, and then open the floodgates and let the guests come walk in, because they need to go and see these rides. And adding flat rides, I don't know what the soft guest cap is. I know that when you add a new ride, it adds an additional guest generation. I know that someone has knowledge of how that works, because I don't know how the game works like internally, but I'm guessing that's how it works. When you ever put down a ride, a coaster, or a shop of some sort, the guest generation bumps up, so that is a thing. I know that. So it kind of like it kind of works like Roller Coaster Tycoon, because this game does have those beats off of that game a lot. So that's my knowledge so far. Not as much, but I'm more into the theming, storytelling, and detailing of the park, especially in these campaign levels. I quickly had to build a cover for the turn for the... what's that turn? That's that turn. That's a shoot, I know the term of that track piece. It's slipping my brain. It's okay. I just made a cover to protect guests from fallen objects and things like that. Always have to do some type of realism as I do before. And then I really overused that grass piece actually in this map. I use that a lot in places. Gonna have to have a hefty computer to do so, and I have a little bit of a strong computer, but dang, that was it's pretty heavy. Also in the terms of using my buildings as useful objects, I hid break rooms in plain sight in buildings, and it matched my theming, and I really like doing that. That's actually, I think, my favorite thing to do actually, is find a spot for where I think a break room would work in distance between areas, and then build the building covering it, and then voila, there you go. There's a decorated break room, and it's fun to have. So this is a break room for my employees. I only have 2 in the park, I think. I don't need that much. But as your parks get bigger, if you do a big map, I'm assuming you need at least 5 break rooms. Let me think here. How many break rooms does American Adventure have? I want to say 7, but I actually don't know, which is a lot. So while building the break room, I wanted to add a additional ride, so I added the paddle boats, which is the swan boats. I haven't used those in a while, so that was fun to use. And then we'll quickly jump over to the last coaster of the park, is a stand-up. So this coaster is not necessarily designed after any Togo layouts. I kind of just made it up myself, kind of just winged it. And I just wanted to have more interaction with the paths and kind of take up a good real estate of the park. And I knew that going in, this coaster actually doesn't push over my guest count. It was probably the flat rides that I put in. So, which is kind of funny. So, I just wanted to build a simple stand-up coaster, which is kind of like you kind of build them like a corkscrew in a way. But the only thing is that the cars are stand-up. You stand in them. So, I've never been on a stand-up coaster in my life, so I don't know how easy it would be to get on one at this point. I don't know which parks have them still. That's something I would have to research. Maybe put on my bucket list of coasters to ride. So I had to figure out right now to send it back to the station. And again, Parkitect has this weird bug where sometimes the track does not generate and it has like something is blocking the track from doing something, and it's weird why it does that. And I think Sebastian has been trying to fix that, but I don't think there's any way you can. Again, that's just a little annoyance of what the game does, but all in all, the game's pretty solid at this point. And how many episodes am I in for this campaign? Is it episode 9 now? I think so, yes, episode 9. I'm still having a lot of fun replaying the scenarios, actually, so we're going to continue doing this until we finish the campaign, which has been fun. So the theme for the coaster station is kind of just going to resemble more rustic buildings, and I wanted to have 2 buildings instead of 1 to kind of chop up that, again, the rectangleness of a station. And this is kind of just maybe a factory of some sort, maybe, or maybe some type of residence. Again, I'm not really sure on the details of that. I just kind of was like thinking, oh, this looks nice. I'm going to use different materials. Here's some different colors, and then voila, there is a different type of building. That's kind of the thought process in this in this instance. It was my thought process. So just made a very simple green building with wooden slats and a bluish gray metal building next to it. And while I was building that, I reinstated the restaurants over at the end of the park, and then opened up the viewing tower. Didn't do much to it. Didn't really add too much to the back end of the park either, because at this point I was wrapping up construction of the park, because the park was running really well. I was making 2K a month, which is great, and I just wanted to finish it up and basically showcase the map at this point. So just finishing up details with windows and things. I later built the transfer track for the stand-up coaster. You will see that in the overview of the park. And speaking of overview, we're about almost there, and I'll let you go and meet you at the overview and show you how the park is running. I'll see you over there. Okay, welcome to Adventure Island. This is the complete park, and we're going to show you quick areas of the park. Oh my gosh. And we'll just go from there. So the first area is a representation of like a factory / warehouse, kind of I took the inspiration from California Adventure from the Pacific Wharf. So this is kind of like either a bread factory or a canning facility. I'm not sure. It just kind of, I wanted to do a rustic, like what's the name? I'm looking for a word. It's like a rustic American style factory or industrial area on this little island. So I'm just imagining that this island is off the coast of Maine, and it's just a small little fishing village or a farming island, or also a tourist trap. So that's kind of what I wanted to do. Kind of what the architecture I kind of went for, but again, it was kind of a broad stroke of American architecture. That's kind of what I did. So the next little area is more of like the town-ish area with the station for the junior coaster that kind of weaves in and out of the forest and kind of have an interaction with water. So all the buildings were kind of symbolized in a way with your borders and pillars and capping of the roofs and stuff like that. So this is kind of nice and rustic, and kind of wanted to keep with the rustic feel of the map. So off to my favorite area actually is the harbor area. Kind of makes me remind me of American Adventure. This is kind of what I've done before, and so kind of just repeating it again in this map was kind of fun. and very rustic and simple. Just doing simple pillars like this in the water and then have these little shapes here to kind of suggest that they're tied in actually gives it pretty nice look. And you don't have to go overly complicated on your building stuff to make it look nice. And that's what I really like about Parkitect, is the simpleness of it and the craziness you can go also with detailing. And then over here is the stand-up coaster, kind of a nice little cap off to the area. I was surprised that I was able to beat the scenario with only 2 coasters instead of 3, because I was building this coaster and then the scenario completed. I was like, oh, okay, well, that's surprising. So this is kind of cool, kind of nice. And then, yeah, let's see here. And then I kind of capped off the area next to the viewing tower with a Enterprise. Kind of was just wanted to finish the scenario and rush up the park, because I was kind of content with it at this point. Like right here, I was content, and I just needed to finish this up and kind of just kind of cap it off. Again, I get kind of anxious when the map finishes and I'm not done decorating, so I need to kind of quell that a little bit next time maybe, but I'm pretty happy with this. And yeah, let's see here. I think that's it for the park. There's really not much to it. It's kind of one of my simpler builds this round versus my the last couple of videos, but I'm quite happy with it. So let's quickly save it and then quit onto the main menu. Let's go see our trophy. Okay, there's our trophy. It is the viewing tower, which is nice. So let's see what maps we get next. I think it's Ice Shelf Islands is the next map. So it kind of moves over here. And then, oh, we get another one. We get Biscayne Beach? Oh, no way. That's actually pretty nice. So Biscayne Beach and Batavia Cay is at the bottom here? Yeah, this is Batavia Cay. Okay. And then Ice Shelf Islands is on top. So I didn't know we had 3 maps to choose from, but I'm going to do Batavia Cay. We're going to do some crazy pirate stuff, which is going to be the best thing right now. So we're going to do that. We're going to do some crazy... I know that there's a river rapids that will be researched, so it's spoilers. And I'm going to probably build another river rapids, which will be fun. And I'm going to totally enjoy that. And then, let's see, what's in Ice Shelf Islands? I'm trying to think. It's probably going to be some type of thing. I don't know, but again, we're just going to do Batavia Cay, which is going to be the easier map to do. And so, all in all, this has been a pretty nice campaign, yeah. And we're gonna let me first thank my Patreons for the continued support. If you want to support me on Patreon, you can go find the link in the description below. Like and subscribe if you like to, and I'll continue doing these videos as best I can. And I will catch you guys in the next episode of the Parkitect campaign. I'll see you guys then. Bye.